I hope you've been enjoying the show. Here we are again, here together. I guess I should be grateful, but I just know that
As he walked over to the old man and sat down merrily. He didn't know it was Newcomer, who he was in this topsy-turvy world, but they both sat and they enjoyed each other's company. But that was before the dark time, that was before it all came crashing down. But in this moment it was all okay and everything was just divine, and they shared some bravo looking at the sunset and clocking together.
I'll be honest, the performance just isn't that compelling.
Steve, cluck. This isn't just another day in our average lives. This day will mark a huge change and something different. You can't just sit there and look at me with those big round eyes. I am forlorn.
This isn't just about you, this is about us. You can't speak to me this way. Do not speak to me this way. Do not speak to me this way.
You can't speak to me this way. No. I will not be spoken to this way. You can't speak to me this way. No. I will not be spoken to this way. You can't speak to me this way.
Fellas, I know you're trying your best, but this just isn't very good.
You can't speak to me this way. No.
I will not be spoken to this way. You can't speak to me this way. No. I will not be spoken to this way. You can't speak to me this way. You can't speak to me this way. You can't speak to me this way.
I'll be making some changes around here. You'll do what I say. This is my domain.
Welcome to ARSTPLAINED, the show where I explain art. My name is Michelle, and we all seem to be grumpy ghoulies nowadays. Truly, the 21st century has proven to be a time exacerbated by ignorance, anxiety, and now, isolation. What happens when the world is told to be alone, at home, with no one except you and your bones? We are still figuring that one out. During this time in history, people are getting more and more creative with how they respond to solitude. A Russian Facebook project called Art Isolation sparked a worldwide sensation of people recreating famous artworks from inside their home. There are also several video games and apps available for having fun and learning about the art world. Occupy White Walls is a worthwhile video game for creating your very own fantasy art collection. You can customize the scope and layout of your gallery as well as the individual artworks on display. Consider the Art Passport app for stunning virtual reality panoramas from galleries and museums from around the world. The Google Arts and Culture app also takes your selfies to the next level by transforming them into the striking styles of renowned artists. This app also includes wonderful articles, audio tours, and augmented reality-assisted experiences. Supporting your local arts organizations is more important now than ever. Art critic Jerry Saltz wrote several predictions on the outcome of the quarantine in an article for Vulture. He believes the pandemic could spell the end of art fairs, that art schools may similarly close en masse, and that the inequalities of the art world may increase, with only mega galleries and art stars surviving. Galleries have begun turning their exhibitions virtual, though this of course has been a band-aid on a dam about to burst. Sotheby's launched an online-only Buy Now gallery network. Washington, D.C.'s National Museum of Women in the Arts created a new portal, NMWA at Home. The new museum posted a virtual tour of its exhibition, Peter Saul, Crime and Punishment, on YouTube. DC's Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden also started a new initiative called Artists in Quarantine, where the museum is soliciting diaristic video snippets from creators around the world. While our current quarantine may be vexing, the loneliness we may feel post-COVID-19 as a result of potential mass closings of commercial art galleries may last far longer, and the short and long-lasting effects of artists themselves who have to deal with social distancing is more than dismal. To be a successful artist often means putting oneself out there in more ways than just Instagram, but that's all that many artists have now. Certainly, there is a stereotype that artists must inherently be lonely or in pain to create exquisite works. But living with loneliness is similar to living with hunger. While social distancing might seem unsatisfactory on an emotional and financial level, it is our only method for survival. Do not fight against the frustration of monotony within your home's pale walls. Instead, make peace with the loneliness, for now. In this episode of ARSTPLAINED, learn about an artist who found inspiration in her isolation, an artist who expressed his fears and frustrations through painting, and our first artist, who many have taken a particular kinship with as of late, Edward Hopper. Not long after quarantine began in March of 2020, New Orleans-based author Michael Tisserand wrote a viral tweet that said very simply, We are all Edward Hopper paintings now. This response and the accompanying Hopper painting seemed to strike a chord in many. Dazed thereafter dubbed Hopper the poster boy of quarantine culture, and The Guardian asked the question, is he the artist of the coronavirus age? Art News senior editor Alex Greenberger, on the other hand, wrote the following. The characters in Hopper's paintings choose to live in modernity and find themselves alienated because of it. We choose to simply try to stay alive in the world today, and a pandemic that has so far killed more than 36,000 worldwide is keeping us captive. I see Greenberger's point. As grim as it might be. No, Hopper's paintings are not a perfect one-to-one comparison of where we are now and what Hopper was intending to depict back then. But I don't think there is anything necessarily wrong with finding a connection with his works either. Unlike Norman Rockwell, Hopper is far less sentimental in his all-American scenes. His paintings offer a critical look at everyday scenes that represent urban loneliness, despair, and melancholy. Let's take a look at Nighthawks, a painting that novelist Joyce Carol Oates once described as our most poignant, ceaselessly replicated romantic image of American loneliness. Dating back to 1942, this image features a fictional city diner at night with a gloomy, deserted exterior that contrasts the jarring, pale, sunflower yellow interior of the restaurant. The realistic scene shows 3 customers, one of whom has his back turned to the viewer and one diner staff member turned toward a couple at the bar but still distanced. While sitting beside each other, neither the man nor woman look at each other, their hands almost touching but not. There is no door to the outside, the characters seemingly trapped inside. What are they talking about? Are they talking at all? Do they know each other, or are they strangers brought together by happenstance? The tense scene has a striking noirish quality, and yet appears at the same time timeless. There is a popular Photoshop version of this image where none of the figures are present, but I think this version misses the point. You can be lonely even in the presence of others. Another notably lonely painting by Hopper is Automat, completed in 1927. Here, a single woman sits alone in a restaurant in an ambiguous time of day. The window reveals nothing from the outside, while the woman holds a coffee cup with one gloved hand. Where is her other glove? Where are the other restaurant patrons? What is she thinking? Is she waiting for someone? So much to wonder. More than a half a century after this painting was completed, it was featured on the cover of Time magazine on August 28, 1995, for an article about stress, anxiety, and depression in the modern age. There are several other paintings by Hopper that instill a similar sense of wonder and solitude. Consider Morning Sun, an office in a small city. Despite the many questions that arose, Hopper was anything but loquacious. He was often unhelpful to journalists, once saying, "The whole answer is there on the canvas." Gail Levin, art historian and the first curator of the Hopper collection in the Whitney Museum of American Art, wrote in Art News, Hopper aspired to the universal, refusing to be narrative and aiming instead at a suggestive, symbolic content. Some of this content, I believe, could be perceived as mundane, but his everlasting imagery has influenced the likes of Alfred Hitchcock, who based his Bates house in Psycho on a Hopper painting. I require more emotion, action.
Click, 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 set that up.
No, you were just saying the words. You have to feel the emotion. Let the emotion flow through you and ooze off of every word. Action.
Click, click, set, the.
Okay. I know you're trying your best. How about you? Action.
This isn't just about you, this is about us. You can't speak to me this way. Do not speak to me this way. Do not speak to me this way.
Okay. I suppose you're going in the right direction at least. I think the biggest issue here is that the source material you're pulling from is absolute trite. Let's use some of my material. Yes, you will finally transcend. Speaking of spooky, scary, oh no, yikes, Edvard Munch is another artist worth mentioning when it comes to his life and how he reflected moments of isolation and anxieties through paintings. He was born in Loten, Norway in 1863 and grew up in Christiania, now Oslo. When Munch was 5 years old, his mother passed away due to tuberculosis. Afterward, his father sank into a depression. When Munch was 14 years old, one of his 3 sisters also died due to tuberculosis. His younger sister spent a large part of her life institutionalized in a mental hospital. Munch was also often sick and isolated due to fever and bronchitis. It was after his father died in 1889 that Munch went through a period of depression and eventually was admitted to a sanatorium. With these experiences, Munch abandoned naturalism in order to paint people who, as he put it, breathe, who feel emotions, who suffer and love. He wanted to do more than merely transcribe what happens in life. He wanted to record exactly how he experienced the scene on an emotional level, often capturing dark, melancholic moments. His most famous painting, The Scream, was conceived as part of an epic series known as The Frieze of Life, which explored themes of love, anxiety, and death. This painting has come to represent the universal anxiety of the modern man, but was inspired by an experience Munch had. He once said, "I was walking along a path with 2 friends. The sun was setting. Suddenly, the sky turned blood red. I paused, feeling exhausted, and leaned on the fence. There was blood and tongues of fire above the blue-black fjord in the city. My friends walked on, and I stood there trembling with anxiety, and I sensed an infinite scream passing through nature." The Scream was first completed in 1893, with over 50 versions created over time, including pastels and lithographs. Bridging 19th century symbolism and 20th century expressionism, the figure in the foreground is sexless, elongated, and haunting. The background and sky is bright, rough, and undetailed. There are 2 figures walking a ways away from the main figure, seemingly blissfully unaware of the figure's emotional state. Munch's self-portraits are similarly captivating in their raw vulnerability. His 1919 self-portrait with the Spanish flu depicts his experience with the illness, the Spanish flu, that arrived in Norway in 1918. Almost half of the Norwegian population of 2.5 million was affected, with approximately 15,000 deaths recorded. His portrait shows Munch facing the viewer with his mouth ajar, perhaps in mid-sentence or mid-wail. His pale skin blends into the adjacent wall. Munch painted several self-portraits over the course of his life, but none were done in vanity. Instead, he used these images to document his life and his solitude. In the 1940s self-portrait Between the Clock and the Bed, he is seen as an old man, placed between the clock and his bed, both symbols of death. Munch spent most of his last 2 decades in isolation at his estate in Ekeli at Skøyen, Oslo. There are many other artists worth mentioning who have depicted isolation in different lights. Caspar David Friedrich's painting, The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog, considers the relationship of oneself with nature, a sublime kind of isolation that wonders about the unknown future. Andrew Wyeth's Day of the Fair, Winter, Christina Olsen and Christina's World all offer a cold, contemplative look at barren landscapes and plaintive figures. Alice Neal's Loneliness is also a worthwhile piece. American photographer Barbara S. also considered how to approach art when confined to a single space. In 2018, she came down with a case of bronchitis that lasted over a month. With her pinhole camera, she created a group of works known as the Shut-In series. These works offer seemingly simple observations of objects in her home and the changing light of day. At first ordinary, the next moment almost spine-chilling. I have presented these artists to show you, my dear viewer, that you are not alone in your loneliness. I highly recommend channeling your emotions in ways that are constructive and honest. Pick up a pen and draw how you feel. Make your own virtual art gallery. Travel the world through apps and games. Don't be afraid to learn something new, paint something inspiring, connect with friends online, and, above all, stay safe, stay home, stay smart, my little clowns.
America, this is you. You made America's Funniest Home Videos one of the most popular TV shows in the nation, the innovative weekly series I've received.
Literally 10,000 zany tapes from people just like you. Now the best of the funniest is all yours in this exclusive made for radio program. Host Bob Saget presents the most memorable talked about home videos of them all.
Play it again, Bob. Road cowboy stays on falling horse tiger. Pulls down boy's pants. Dog bites mom. Easter egg thief caught in the act. The monkey suit marriage proposal. Fat golfer rolls downhill. Baby pulls out granddad's teeth. Kitten calls up pants. Birthday boy spits out candle. The pickle eating baby. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Funniest Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Funniest Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Funniest Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's All this and much more you'll never all this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Funniest Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Funniest Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see next on the best of America's Funniest Home Videos. All this and much more you'll never know what you see. Thank you for watching this latest episode of ARSTPLAINED. We hope you have taken inspiration from these artists and their works. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and press the little bell thingy. Just do it, please. I have nothing else. We at Downhill Media want to thank our wonderful patrons on Patreon. We look forward to supporting you too with our next episode, which will come soon. Goodbye forever.